Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Today we are discussing the hyperparathyroidism. And in hyperparathyroidism, there is excess secretion of the parathyroid hormone from the parathyroid gland. Basically, hyperparathyroidism is an endocrine disorder. But here we discuss hyperparathyroidism in combination with the disorders of the bones, because hyperparathyroidism is a condition in which there is excess bone resorption or osteolytic bone resorption, and it has its effects mainly on the skeletal system, kidneys, and other organs of the body. The parathyroid glands are four in number and are in two pairs, and they are located at the back of the thyroid gland. The parathyroid gland secrete the parathyroid hormone. Unlike the other glands of the body, where the secretion of the hormones from the glands like adrenal gland, thyroid gland, which are controlled by the factors from the anterior pituitary and hypothalamus. But the main control of the parathyroid hormone secretion from the parathyroid gland is controlled by the calcium level in the serum. Because the parathyroid gland has cells with calcium sensing receptors. The two types of cells are the chief cells and the occiput cells. And the chief cells are the main cells that secrete parathyroid hormone. When the blood calcium level comes to normal, that is 9.5 milligram per deciliter, which may be slightly higher in children, this will cause feedback inhibition and the parathyroid hormone secretion will come to a stop. But when the blood calcium level is low, the calcium sensing receptors in the parathyroid's chief cells, they sense this low calcium level and stimulate the parathyroid glands to secrete the parathyroid hormone. The parathyroid hormone have its effects mainly on the bones and the kidney. In the bones, parathyroid hormone causes release of calcium and phosphate by stimulation of the osteoclast cells that cause bone resorption. So calcium is released into the blood by the demineralization of the bones. In the kidney, the parathyroid hormone increases calcium reabsorption, but it inhibits phosphate reabsorption. By that we mean that excess phosphate is excreted in the urine. So calcium reabsorption will cause hypercalcemia, and phosphate excretion will cause hypophosphatemia. Because the presence of excess phosphate in the blood, it will bind calcium to form calcium phosphate, and as a result the free ionized calcium level in the blood will be decreased. So by removing phosphate through increasing its excretion through the kidney and by increasing calcium reabsorption from the kidney tubules, the parathyroid hormone will cause hypercalcemia. Moreover, we know that vitamin D3 has very important role in calcium homeostasis. Vitamin D3 is found in the kidney after it has got processed in the liver, and basically it is derived from the 7-dehydrocholesterol in the skin by exposure of the skin to the sunlight. And moreover, we also get vitamin D3 in the form of dietary contents and supplements. And the parathyroid hormone activates the enzyme alpha hydroxylase, which converts the calcidiol, which is formed in the liver and carried to the kidney, into calcitriol 125 hydroxycholecalciferol, which is the active form of vitamin D3 known as the calcitriol. And this vitamin D3 will increase the absorption of calcium and phosphate from the gastrointestinal tract. So through all these effects, the parathyroid hormone increases the blood calcium level. And when the blood calcium level come to the 9.5 milligram per deciliter, which is the normal serum concentration in the calcium concentration in the serum, then the calcium sensing receptors in the parathyroid gland chief cells sense this normal calcium level, and it will stop stimulating the parathyroid gland to secrete the parathyroid hormone. So hyperparathyroidism is a condition in which the parathyroid gland produces excess parathyroid hormone. We classify hyperparathyroidism into the primary hyperparathyroidism, secondary hyperparathyroidism, and tertiary hyperparathyroidism, which is a part of the secondary hyperparathyroidism. The primary hyperparathyroidism, the problem lies in the parathyroid gland. And mostly a benign tumor or adenoma is the most common cause of primary hyperparathyroidism. In more than 90% of cases, primary hyperparathyroidism is caused by the parathyroid adenoma. Additionally, hyperplasia in the parathyroid gland may be responsible for 5 to 10% of the cases of primary hyperparathyroidism, and malignant conditions like parathyroid carcinoma is a rare cause of primary hyperparathyroidism. And it is important to note that in primary hyperparathyroidism, there is autonomous secretion of the parathyroid hormone. By that we mean that the stimulation of the parathyroid gland to secrete parathyroid hormone is not dependent on the serum calcium level, which normally controls the secretion of parathyroid hormone. So this is an autonomous secretion of the parathyroid hormone from the parathyroid gland. In secondary hyperparathyroidism, there is no problem in the parathyroid gland. There is no primary problem here. But what happens that whatsoever the condition that leads to low serum calcium level, a condition known as the hypocalcemia. And we know that the parathyroid chief cells calcium sensing receptors sense the low calcium level, and it will stimulate the parathyroid gland to cause increased secretion of the parathyroid hormone. So, for example, in renal failure, in chronic kidney diseases, what happens that the kidneys are damaged and they are unable to reabsorb calcium. Moreover, In this condition, the kidneys are also unable to excrete excess phosphate. So what happens? That calcium is lost in the urine, and phosphate level, due to failure of its excretion by the kidney, increases, and the phosphate in the blood will bind any available calcium, and collectively this situation will lead to hypocalcemia. And we know that this hypocalcemia is a stimulant for the parathyroid gland to produce parathyroid hormone. So in secondary hyperparathyroidism, basically the hyper or over secretion or excess production of the parathyroid hormone is related to the low serum calcium level or hypocalcemia. And it occurs in persistent and long-standing cases of the chronic kidney disease or renal failure. In tertiary hyperparathyroidism, what happens? That a nodule in the parathyroid gland may become autonomous, just like that what happens in primary hyperparathyroidism. And this autonomous secretion of the parathyroid hormone from this nodule will produce a condition which is very similar to the primary hyperparathyroidism. But actually, tertiary hyperparathyroidism originates from the secondary hyperparathyroidism. Now, what happens when there is adenoma, a benign tumor, which is the major cause of primary hyperparathyroidism? It is caused mostly in familial condition and in sporadic conditions. Single gene mutations in the cyclin D1 gene cause uncontrolled proliferation of the cells in adenoma and will cause autonomous secretion of the parathyroid hormone from the parathyroid gland. In certain familial conditions like multiple endocrine neoplasia syndromes, hyperparathyroidism may be a part of these familial conditions, in which multiple endocrine neoplasia mean one where tumors occur in multiple glands, and in MEN1 tumors occur in the parathyroid gland causing hyperparathyroidism. It also occurs in the pituitary and the pancreas. While MEN2 multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome 2 has two types, and in MEN2 type A there are tumors in the parathyroid gland, and also in the it includes medullary carcinoma of the thyroid gland and peuchromocytoma that occurs in the adrenal medulla. Parathyroid carcinoma is a rare cause of the primary hyperparathyroidism, and parathyroid hyperplasia, which mostly is the result of long and persistent hypocalcemia, also cause hyperparathyroidism. But here it is important to note that adenoma will occur in any one of the four parathyroid glands mostly, while hyperplasia will be a multiglandular process, and all the four glands they will be affected. Now the excess parathyroid hormone secreted will cause osteoclastic bone resorption. It will stimulate the osteoclast cells in the bone, and we know that osteoclast cells, they cause break down the bone, they demineralize the bone, and this is called osteoclastic bone resorption. Secondly, through the effects of excess parathyroid hormone in the kidney, the parathyroid hormone will cause reabsorption of calcium and excretion of phosphate. So the excess parathyroid hormone will cause excess reabsorption of calcium as well as excess excretion of phosphate, so that no phosphate is available in the serum to bind calcium, and the result of this whole exercise will be hypercalcemia and hypophosphatemia, low serum phosphate level. The clinical features of primary hyperparathyroidism can be remembered by the renal stones, where there is excess calcium in the urine can lead to the formation of, for example, calcium oxalate stones. Painful bones, accelerated bone demineralization will cause pain in the bones, and due to excess calcium, ionized calcium in the blood, it will slow down the nerve reflexes and may cause hypotonia, which may result in constipation and other gastrointestinal symptoms. Presence of excess ionized calcium in the serum may have its effects on the brain, and it will cause psychic moans in the form of depression, confusion, and other symptoms. When excess calcium is excreted in urine due to the excess serum level of calcium, automatically excess calcium will be excreted in urine, a condition known as the hypercalciuria, and along with it the sodium excretion will pull water after it, and this hypercalciuria along with sodium excretion will cause polyuria that will lead to dehydration. And the presence of excess calcium, ionized calcium in the serum will cause decreased neuron excitability, and which will lead to slower muscle contractions. Primary hyperparathyroidism is a disease that usually occurs in the adults, and females are affected more than the males in the ratio of 4:1. So here we can see that the laboratory findings or the chemistry will show increased serum calcium, because excess serum parathyroid hormone will cause bone demineralization, releasing calcium into the serum, and moreover the parathyroid hormone will increase renal reabsorption of calcium. The parathyroid hormone will stimulate the alpha hydroxylase enzyme and excess formation of calcitriol, the active vitamin D3, which will increase absorption of calcium and phosphate from the gut. So in the chemistry profile, we will see elevated serum parathyroid hormone, elevated serum calcium level, while as we know that parathyroid hormone will increase the excretion of renal excretion of the phosphate, so it will lead to decreased serum phosphate level, and as a compensatory phenomenon, activation of the osteoblast will cause increased serum alkaline phosphatase level. Radiologically, we will see cortical erosions, particularly in the phalanges, in the form of bone demineralization and formation of osteitis fibrosa cystica and brown tumors. So we will see cortical erosion, which is very prominent in the phalanges. There are destructive bone lesions and calcium deposition in the form of nephrocalcinosis in the kidney, in which there is areas of scattered areas of calcification in the renal parenchyma. Ultrasound and CT is done for the localization of the tumor, and the treatment of primary hyperparathyroidism is surgical removal of the parathyroid gland. Now, in secondary hyperparathyroidism, there is no tumor, no adenoma, no carcinoma, but basically the problem is somewhere else. And mostly the problem is in the form of chronic kidney disease. We know that under the effect of parathyroid hormone in the kidney, the parathyroid hormone will cause increased calcium reabsorption, decreased phosphate reabsorption, and increased phosphate excretion, and activation of the alpha hydroxylase enzyme, which will give rise to the formation of calcitriol. So what happens when the kidneys are damaged? They are unable to maintain these functions. So there is decreased calcium reabsorption. So automatically the serum calcium level will go down, it will be low. Increased phosphate reabsorption will cause hyperphosphatemia, and the presence of this phosphate will bind any available calcium, and there will be decreased calcium absorption from the gut due to decreased formation of the active vitamin D3 or calcitriol. So collectively all these effects will cause hypocalcemia. And a similar picture of secondary hyperparathyroidism can also be produced due to lack of vitamin D or calcitriol. And this will happen in conditions of poor exposure to sunlight, because this is the ultraviolet rays that the 7-dehydrocholesterol in the presence of ultraviolet rays is converted into cholecalciferol, which is processed in the liver and later on in the kidney to form active form of the vitamin D3 or calcitriol. And sometimes this may result from poor dietary intake of vitamin D3. Whatsoever is the cause, but when there is hypocalcemia, it will stimulate the calcium sensing receptors in the chief cells of the parathyroid gland and will stimulate excess production of the parathyroid hormone. And the parathyroid hormone will then cause bone resorption, osteoclastic bone resorption, and will lead to bone demineralization. And the presence of excess calcium in the serum can cause metastatic calcifications, for example, in the lung, blood vessels, and kidneys. Metastatic calcification is a condition in which there is abnormal calcium deposition in normal tissues of the body. In dystrophic calcification, there is calcium deposition in necrosed and damaged areas. But in metastatic calcification, there is problem derangement in the calcium metabolism, and excess calcium present in the blood may get deposited in normal body tissues. This is known as the metastatic calcification as compared to the dystrophic calcification. The tertiary hyperparathyroidism occurs in the situation of secondary hyperparathyroidism. As we know, the secondary hyperparathyroidism results from long-lasting persistent hypocalcemia, and it is a compensatory response of the parathyroid gland to increase parathyroid hormone secretion, which will cause an increase in the serum calcium level through bone demineralization, through renal effects, and through activation of the vitamin D3 formation. But sometimes a nodule in the hyperplastic parathyroid gland may become autonomous. It doesn't listen to the serum calcium level, and it causes autonomous secretion of the parathyroid hormone, and it will lead to the condition of tertiary hyperparathyroidism, which is similar to the primary hyperparathyroidism. And in both these conditions, there is autonomous secretion of the parathyroid hormone. Moreover, certain non-thyroid tumors in the body, for example, squamous cell carcinoma of the lung, produce substances known as the parathyroid hormone related proteins, and they have similar effects like the parathyroid hormone, and they can stimulate the parathyroid gland to cause excess formation of the parathyroid hormone. And this situation in which there is an ectopic secretion of the parathyroid hormone related peptide causing hyperparathyroidism is also tertiary hyperparathyroidism. So primary hyperthyroidism have causes like these. In secondary hyperparathyroidism, the cause lies outside the parathyroid gland, and mostly it is renal failure which will cause decreased calcium reabsorption and decreased phosphate excretion, and the condition can also result from lack of vitamin D3, and overall these situations will lead to hypocalcemia. There will be compensatory oversecretion of parathyroid hormone, and sometimes the hyperplastic parathyroid gland, a nodule may become autonomous. It doesn't respond to the serum calcium level as the normal parathyroid glands does. So what happens? It will lead to the autonomous secretion of the parathyroid hormone, and this is known as the tertiary hyperparathyroidism, which is just similar to the primary hyperparathyroidism, where there is also an autonomous secretion of parathyroid hormones. Tertiary hyperparathyroidism can also be produced by the extraparathyroid tumor like squamous cell carcinoma of the lung, and tumors of this type will cause secretion of the parathyroid hormone related protein which will stimulate the parathyroid gland just like parathyroid hormone and will cause hyperparathyroidism. And the hyperparathyroidism which is produced by the extraparathyroidal secretion of parathyroid hormone related protein, and is as a result of the autonomous secretion from a nodule of the secondary hyperparathyroidism, is called the tertiary hyperparathyroidism. Now, as we know that the signs symptoms of the hyperparathyroidism are mostly those on the in the parathyroid gland, and the organs outside the parathyroid gland are the bones and the kidneys. And a condition known as the osteitis fibrosa cystica is a situation in which excess bone mineralization, which is caused by the hyperparathyroidism and replacement of the bone tissue by fibrous tissue, happens in osteitis fibrosa cystica, and there may be cystic spaces which are formed within and outside the bone, and they are known as the brown tumors because of the presence of the homocysteine, which gives it the brown color. Now, the laboratory findings in the three types of the hyperparathyroidism, we can see that in primary hyperparathyroidism, due to excess effects of the parathyroid hormone on bone, kidney, and formation of active vitamin D3 will result in high serum calcium level, while parathyroid hormone will increase renal excretion of the phosphate, and it will lead to hypophosphatemia or low serum phosphate level. The parathyroid hormone level will be high. In secondary hyperparathyroidism, we know that basically it results from the hypocalcemia, and mainly the cause is in the kidney. The damaged kidney cannot reabsorb calcium, moreover it cannot produce the active vitamin D3. So in secondary hyperparathyroidism, the serum calcium level will be low, because this type of hyperparathyroidism basically originates from the hypercalcemia, from hypocalcemia. Since the kidney is unable to excrete phosphate, so there will be hyperphosphatemia, and the phosphate level in the serum will be high, and it will further bind any available calcium, further lowering down the calcium level in the blood. In tertiary hyperparathyroidism, the serum calcium level will be high, but if the tertiary hyperparathyroidism originates from the secondary hyperparathyroidism that is caused by chronic kidney disease, what will happen? That there will be hyperphosphatemia. The phosphate level will be high. But if, for example, if the patient is treated by renal transplant and the healthy kidney which will excrete excess phosphate, so the condition here may be that of the hypophosphatemia, low phosphate level. And if the tertiary hyperthyroidism is caused by ectopic secretion of the parathyroid hormone and there is no problem in the kidney, again there will be hypophosphatemia. So hyperphosphatemia will be if the tertiary hyperparathyroidism results from secondary hyperparathyroidism. But if there is a successful renal transplant, the normal kidney will excrete phosphate, and if there is ectopic secretion of parathyroid hormone related protein, in this situation there will be hypophosphatemia. So we say that the phosphate level in tertiary hyperparathyroidism is variable, and it depends on the kidney function and the secretion of the parathyroid hormone related proteins from the ectopic parathyroid tumors. Tumors that are ectopic to the parathyroid gland, like squamous cell carcinoma of the lung. The parathyroid hormone level will be high here again. The hypercalcemia, which is caused by the hyperparathyroidism, the primary treatment of the primary hyperparathyroidism and tertiary hyperparathyroidism is surgical removal of the parathyroid gland. But the hypercalciuria, dehydration, polyuria, and excess serum levels of the ionized calcium can be treated by correcting the dehydration with intravenous saline, and to increase filtration of the calcium concentration, because when there is dehydration the calcium concentration will be more, but by diluting the serum or blood, the calcium they are filtered. Diuretics like furosemide can be given to inhibit calcium reabsorption through the kidney, and intravenous infusion of the bisphosphonates and calcitonin can be given, and both of them will inhibit the osteoclasts, and sometimes corticosteroids are used to reduce intestinal absorption of calcium and phosphate. So in summary, primary hyperparathyroidism is the most common cause of asymptomatic hypercalcemia. Asymptomatic hypercalcemia occurs in primary hyperparathyroidism, while the hypercalcemia that results from malignancies or metastasis, osteolytic metastatic tumors will cause symptomatic hypercalcemia. Primary hypothyroidism can be caused by sporadic parathyroid adenoma, in which there is cyclin D1 gene mutations, and sometimes is in combination with other multiglandular tumors in the form of MIN1 and MIN2 type A neoplasia. Parathyroid adenomas are solitary, and a single gland is involved, while the hyperplasia is a multiglandular process in which all of the four parathyroid glands may be involved. The skeletal manifestations include the bone demineralization and the bone loss, which is replaced by the fibrous tissue, result in osteitis, fibrosa cystica, and the cystic-like tumors, which appears brown due to the presence of the hemosiderin, may be seen. The renal changes include nephrolithiasis, which is the formation of calcium-based stones like calcium oxalate stones, which may lead to obstructive uropathies, and nephrocalcinosis, in which there is scattered calcifications in the renal parenchyma. Clinical manifestations are the painful bones, renal stones, abdominal groans, and psychic moans. Secondary hyperparathyroidism is the result of renal failure leading to hypocalcemia, and as a compensatory phenomena, the parathyroid glands becomes reactive and hyperplastic, and at the end we can see that in primary hyperparathyroidism there is usually asymptomatic hypercalcemia, and we find out cases only if we examine the serum level of a patient for calcium and if we find abnormally elevated calcium level. There are no symptoms initially to the patient, while in malignancies there will be symptomatic hypercalcemia, and it will result in the form of osteolytic metastasis. Tumors from other areas like breast tumor, carcinoma prostate may metastasize to the bone, and usually this is the very advanced stage of a malignant tumor, and the metastasis may be in the form of osteolytic or osteoblastic, but in malignant symptomatic hypercalcemia there is osteolytic metastasis, and sometimes it may be caused by the release of parathyroid hormone related protein from extraparathyroidal tumors like tumors in the kidney and lung, like squamous cell carcinoma of the lung, which will cause symptomatic hypercalcemia. Thank you very much.